So the objective here is to create content, because you know as well as I do that the person that shows up on social media every single day is typically the person that wins. But the problem is, and I should also add that most realtors face this exact problem that I'm about to state, and that is, how the heck do you come up with content on a daily basis? I mean, how the heck are some of these other successful realtors doing it by really finding the ability to post every single day? Well, for content creators like myself, we know that it is a heck of a lot of work, but you can multiply that by a factor of 10 or maybe even 100 if this is your first time really getting your feet wet with creating content and really engaging in social media. What is up, friends? Emmanuel here, and today's video is all about building a content creation machine to really set you up for success, so you'll now have the ability to show up every single day with new content to post on social media. So let's go. All right, now before I get into the good stuff, you know the deal. Please make sure you join the free Facebook group, leaving the description down below. That is the place where we're talking all things digital marketing and brand strategy for realtors just like yourself. So go ahead, click, join the conversation. I hope to see you there. So have you ever wondered how the heck a lot of these realtors are finding so much success in social media and really their digital marketing efforts, and how they've been able to find the sweet spot to show up on a daily basis? Well, allow me to give you a peek under the hood. I'm gonna unveil to you one of the secrets of the trade, my friends. You see, what they've done is built a successful content creation machine, thereby allowing them to show up on a daily basis. Look, showing up on a daily basis takes a whole lot of time and effort, but if you really pay attention to what these guys or girls are doing, you'll really find that every action, every execution that they're doing is simply premeditated. And if you really pay very close attention, you'll start to identify the nuance in the types of content that these realtors are creating and the cadence at which they are creating them. Now, I'm simply telling you this because this process isn't very hard to replicate. In fact, I'm going to break down the details for this exact process for you in this video. Now, my goal for today's video is really to teach you how this machine is constructed so that you could replicate it and really synthesize the process for your business and really help you find success in social media. But before I get into the good stuff, you know the deal. Click that like button, the subscribe button, and the bell icon to make sure we appease the YouTube gods so they continue to support our channel to create really great content just like this. So thank you so much in advance. All right, so let me kick off today's conversation by really breaking down the core components of the machine that you're going to need to build in order to create content on a daily basis. Now, this machine I'm actually referring to isn't very complicated. It's only made up of 4 parts. So let's dive into this, shall we? All right, the first part of this machine is called ideation. The second part of this machine is called creation. The third part is all about editing, and the fourth part is scheduling. You see, content creation isn't this gigantic system with a bunch of different levers and triggers to execute its processes. It's really actually very, very simple, and it's only truly broken down into these 4 parts. So allow me to dive a little deeper and let me break down exactly what goes on in each one of these parts so you can start having a better understanding of how this machine works. Okay. Part 1, step 1, is all about ideating, or the ideation phase. Now, the easy way to think of the ideation or ideating phase is really a session that needs to happen maybe at the beginning of the month, or maybe the end of the month, or maybe at the end of every week, where you really take some time and come up with ideas about particular topics for content that you want to post. By the way, real quick, I actually created a video that's referencing the ideation of content. It comes with a content calendar worksheet. I'm gonna leave it up here as well as in the link, or as well as the link in the description below. So go ahead and click to it and go through that little worksheet. It'll really help simplify this whole ideation process. But simply put, ideation is no more than just simply whipping out a calendar and then writing exactly what you plan on posting on each little square box for each day of the week. That's all it is. All right, now cog number 2 of this machine for content creation is all about creating the actual content. You see, in step 1, we came up with the ideas of things to share, And now in step 2, it's all about creating the actual content for those ideas. So let's say, for example, that every Monday you want to post a quote, and you put in your calendar quote, and it's all the way down the list or down the line for Mondays. So you want to come up with a quote that you want to post every Monday, all right? So step 2, the creation, is the actual process of finding the quote or sharing the quote or creating the quote itself. And the same thing goes if you're creating a video as well. Step 2 is the act of creating the script, creating any assets or slides that you want to include in the video, as well as recording the raw video. Now, speaking of raw video, that leads us to step 3, which is all about editing. This is the process where you're simply refining what you've created in step 2 so that it looks good when you publish it to the market. Now, if we're talking about a YouTube video, then what you recorded in step 2, step 3 is all about splicing it up and making it look pretty so that you can eventually, hit publish, and then it's gonna be exposed out to the world. By the way, this simple logic also applies to if you're designing something. Let's say you're not a very good designer. So step 2 would be you creating the content or copy for what's supposed to be designed. And then step 3 is actually designing it through one of these template systems like Canva. And lastly, that leads us to step 4, which is all about scheduling the content. Now, I'm not gonna go into a deep dive into this because I think it's pretty self-explanatory. After you've created the post here, we're gonna wanna schedule it. And the key word I wanna mention here is that I said schedule, not post in real time. And that is strictly by design. You see, all of the marketing pieces that you see a lot of these other agents posting, well, the reality is, the reason they're killing the game is because they're typically premeditating these posts. They're creating the content maybe a week or a few weeks before publishing it, and then executing it or publishing it through some sort of application to really schedule out those posts in advance. Now, I just want to mention really quickly that there are a ton of applications that you can really utilize to schedule out your content, like Hootsuite, or Later, or Zoho Social. Really, the choice is up to you. Go ahead and do your due diligence and really find an application that works for you to really schedule out this content. But the idea here is that you do not want to be bogged down every single day on your calendar to really try to come up with some content to share. And so that is why the simple idea of creating all the content up front, or really front loading it and then scheduling it out for the remainder of the week or maybe the remainder of the month, is really the sweet spot here. And that allows you to show up on social media every single day. And that, my friends, are the 4 components, the only 4 components that you really need to create a content machine. Now, I want to end this with one last little tidbit. It's actually a pro tip. You see, many agents, when they think of social media, they immediately think that they want to subcontract out the job of social media to maybe a third party or a VA. Well, let me tell you this right now, it is the worst idea, simply because what ends up happening is the content that those people create ends up looking very canned and very bland, and it just does not resonate in the marketplace. And this is also part of the reason why I put so much emphasis in everything I say and everything I promote and everything I teach and coach, that you really need to spend the time to create your own content. Because at the end of the day, you, my friend, are the expert, not the VA and not that random company that you paid a couple $100 to every single month to manage and post on your Facebook and on your Instagram. And if you are the expert, you need to be able to show it. And you can show it by really just showing your work. Talk about yourself. Talk about the stories that you have in this real estate game or in life. Talk about your experiences. Talk about struggles, that you've had with real estate deals or things like that. You see, what really resonates in the market is that authenticity, your ability to show up and really display your personality. And it's not, I repeat, it's not a post, some generic post about some weird crock pot recipe or maybe some cool market trends. Like, that's just not gonna work, all right? You got to focus and really hone in and buckle down on your own personal, authentic voice. That being said, the pros actually approach the content creation machine a little bit more like this. All right, part 1 and part 2 of the content machine, ideate, create, you can't pawn that off. Let's establish this down. You got to do that work yourself. You need to be able to express your personality, your authority, your vulnerabilities. That is all the meat and potatoes, the good stuff, really the main course of the dish. That's all created in ideation and creation. But the pros, what they do is they typically hire out someone to do the editing and the scheduling, because really that stuff doesn't need a lot of guidance. Those are the things that typically do not require a lot of expertise that you need to relay. I mean, the act of editing a video or coming up with a nice design, it's really not rocket science. It really doesn't require you to provide that much guidance. As long as you're able to bring in or hire on a solid video editor or designer or any other marketing component piece like that to really handle the fulfillment, then you could kind of, I wouldn't say set it and forget it, but you can essentially delegate it to them to really remove it from your plate altogether. By the way, if you need help really building this machine or really coming up with a content strategy, schedule or cadence, then I highly recommend that you schedule a strategy session with myself or someone on my team. I'm leaving the description down below under this video. It's one of the things that we have a wealth of knowledge in, we're experts in, and we are always happy to help if you need some guidance. All right, aside from that, I wish you all the luck in the process of really creating this content machine for yourself. And by all means, if you have any questions, drop them in the description below. I will try to answer them as quickly as possible. And I appreciate you sticking around to watching the entire video. That being said, I want to wish you a great rest of the day, a great rest of the week, and I will catch you next week. Bye-bye.